Before we begin, I'd like to take the time to thank you for viewing this video. I'm sure you will find it very constructive in assisting you on how to operate our system, or if you're not a customer, showing you the range of benefits through our IXCloud product. So here we have the IXCloud user interface. It's accessible through a web browser. It's pretty much agnostic to the browser, so Edge, Chrome, anything else that meets your preference. Logging in can take place in various ways. We have different ways that are all passwordless. You can use an email and a one-time PIN. You can use single sign-on with your Microsoft account. And we have a third mechanism for an MFA where every user gets a unique code alongside their email address and a one-time PIN on every login. Now, bear in mind, there is also granular roles and permissions for the system. So depending on the role that you've been assigned, you'll be able to access various parts of the system. So extremely granular, and we'll go into a little bit of detail as to how those roles are built within the system as well. In addition to viewable permissions, allowing you to view or not view certain calls in the system. So I'm going to use an email address and one-time PIN. So I'm logging into the system now, and I'm a root administrator, so I am going to see everything in the system. I'm going to receive that one-time PIN now. It just takes a second and I have it. And I'm going to now copy it and paste it in, and it's going to authenticate me as a root administrator and log me into the system. Now, the main dashboard that you're going to hit when you log in is a dashboard of widgets. This dashboard has some recorded call metrics, such as how many calls are in your database, how many have been recorded for the month, the day, or the hour. It also has how much storage you've utilized. Now, Numonix includes 1 terabyte of GRS storage within your tenant. You are able to use your own storage in our enterprise account. You can connect your own Azure Storage Blob account to the system as well, but this one will log the storage that you've utilized out of the built-in IXCloud storage. There's also a counter for transcription. We have currently transcription based on consumption, so you would pre-buy hours, and depending on how much of those you've consumed, this transcription meter will move up, and then you can acquire additional hours if you wish. Also, a couple of call volume over time, where you can also edit this to look over a longer period, as well as monthly volume as well. And these widgets are also controlled by your specific role in the system, so you can restrict which role anyone or which widget anyone might access based on the role that they have. Let me touch a little bit on the admin. So when I click the admin button, and something to consider is we do not make buttons visible if you do not have permission to see them. So for example, I'm an admin, so I can see all these buttons, but if I was not a root admin and I didn't have permission to view the roles, I would not see this within the user interface, so you don't have to worry about people thinking that there might be an error in the system, that it's not presenting something you're clicking. So if I click on roles first, I can see that we have a few roles in the system. You can create roles by simply adding a role, giving it a name and a short name, and hitting create. Once you have that role, you're able then to go and manage permissions for that role, where you can review in here. There are quite a number of permissions that you can use to edit and adjust the role. For example, do you want someone to be able to download calls in an unencrypted format? Or do you want to restrict them so that they can only use the sharing link? Do you want them to be able to only share calls with people who have accounts in the system, or be able to anonymously share, which requires a password from the system? And various other roles and permissions that you can insert to allow different types of users to perform different types of functions in the system. Once you have your roles created, there are different ways that you can assign a role to a user. The first way is within the user management. This is where all the users are created. And let me quickly differentiate something, is that in our enterprise version, we also have an Active Directory or Entra integration, which is a single point of configuration for the system, where you can create an app. We use Skim, and you can then do all your user provisioning through Entra groups, so you do not have to configure anything within here as far as the user is concerned, and this will be locked down to not allow you to make any changes from within here. That is extremely useful, because then all your management is done. A new user joins, all you do is put them in the required group in Entra, and they will be created automatically in here in the required group with all the attributes. And if someone leaves, you remove them from their group, and they will automatically be removed and disabled in this system, and will not be recorded or follow all the normal procedures of an active user in the system. If I go to an account in the system here, in this system you can see I'm not using Active Directory. I can see which role I have assigned to me, which is a user role, which was inherited through a group that I'm in. So you can also assign roles through a group. And I have a root administrator role, which was assigned through this user profile. And in this screen, I can add or remove ones that were not added through a group. To remove a role through a group, you have to go and remove that profile from the group or the user from the group, so that you do not inherit that role for the specific user. Something also to note is we have a coined phrase, which is 2 clicks to anywhere, which makes this platform really easy to navigate, which means that just about anywhere you can click and access that relevant section of the product. So you don't have to leave the screen, go to another screen, and then try and find something else you're looking for. So if I wanted to go and review the root administrator role, if I simply click on root administrator, it would navigate me directly to there, as well as you have some breadcrumbs at the top that you can follow exactly where you need to be and where you've been going. The second element is targets, and this is the target that you are recorded with. In this case, I can see that this is a Teams recorded user and the specific endpoint that is being used to record this user. You can also do combinations of integrations in here, so you would see multiple targets for different endpoints that apply. The third tab is playback permissions. Playback permissions are those users that this user has permission to view or playback, and those can be configured either on an individual basis or on a group basis. So if I wanted to give this user the permission to view a group, I can check the group. Or if I want to go granularly on a user basis, for example, you want a user only to listen to their own calls, you can do that seamlessly by simply clicking the user account on the left, and you will automatically have permission to view that user. Again, the same with an inherited permission. You can see that a user account has been highlighted when it's part of a group that has been given permission for you to give permission to review that group. And then finally, the Groups tab, which shows you which user or which group this user is a part of. A few other interesting features here is call playback reason. So we have a feature where if you enable this for a user, every time someone goes to play back this user's calls, they will be presented with a pop-up box that asks them why they are playing back the call, and that logs that into a call playback log, which allows them then to audit who's been playing back calls and when, and I'm going to show that to you shortly. The other feature here is legal hold. So IXCloud includes the ability to place retention profiles on groups, which allows you to specify how long you retain calls automatically. So whether you have a requirement to store a call for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be, you can set that up by group profile. But then you have the ability to place a legal hold on a user so that any calls that this user have made does not get deleted in a retention policy. And that could be if you're reviewing a user's calls and want to make sure that everything is retained until you've resolved a specific issue. Legal hold also applies on an individual call as well, which we will show you as we navigate the call information. Going back to the admin screen, we can go now and take a look at that call playback log that I mentioned. This is a very valuable feature where you're able to review all the calls that have been played back and who has been playing back, and if there's a call playback reason, why they've been playing them back. So if I go here to go to a specific date range, and I'm going to go to an extensive date range to pull back who's been playing back calls, I can find out who has been playing back calls in the system, I can see this user has played back this user's calls. I have access to the calls, so if I click on this, I can review the call. I can see that it was a playback, and I can see when they've played it back, and this user didn't have the playback reason enabled, so there's nothing here. This user, however, does have playback reason enabled, so you can see the reason why that call has been played back, and you can export this out as a report for any review or any audit that you may have. This has tremendously, or helped our customers tremendously with their compliance audits, especially with GDPR and call access. Going back to the admin, groups, which we mentioned, another way of provisioning certain attributes to users. And if you're using IntraSync or AD-Sync, this is where the groups will automatically be imported, and then users will take on the attributes. However, if you're not using Entra or AD-Sync, you're still able to create groups and apply attributes to them. It's just a manual provisioning feature through IXCloud. I can see I have some groups created here, and if I go and click on one of the groups, I'm able to see the members of the group, and all these members take on the attributes of the group. And then I can look at the different and various attributes, such as playback permissions, who this group has permission to playback, either by user or by group. Do I want to apply the call playback reason to everybody in this group, so I don't need to do it individually to users? A very useful feature is the fact if you would like a group of users only to listen to their own calls, instead of going one by one, you can put them in a group, and then you can say play my calls yes, and that'll automatically give everybody in this group the ability to listen to their own calls that have been recorded in the system. And you can go and supplement this as well through the user tab, where if you wanted to add a couple more, you could do that as well through the user tab. Okay, we have the Profiles tab in Groups, and this is where you add attributes to a specific group of users. If I go to Profiles, the three profiles we have, the first one is retention. So you can create a retention profile where you specify how many days calls are stored for, you create it, and then you can apply that to the group, and that's how long those users' calls will be stored for. The second profile we have, which is available in both versions of the product, as with retention, is the security profile. And the security profile is how to add a role to a specific group. So you create your security profile, you assign a role to that profile, and that profile takes on the attribute of that role. So the recorded user security profile contains the attributes or permissions of the user role, so that if anyone is in a specific group that has that profile, they will automatically take on that role. The third profile we have, which is a big differentiator and can be created in both versions of our product. In the business version though, it is limited to one profile for the whole tenant, whereas in enterprise it can be assigned to groups, which is extremely useful in the case where you might have various groups wanting to record in different ways. Now, how that works, if I open the recording profile allows you to configure the recording mechanisms. So firstly, we're recording audio, which is the base of any license. How do you want to record? What compression do you want to use? Are you doing transcription? So do you need it in stereo? Do you want maybe a higher compressed audio? So you want to use GSM with 8,000 Hertz? Or do you want a better quality for transcription, which is A-Law-Mu-Law? Or even better than that, PCM16, which allows you to split the waveform into RX-TX. So there are features where you can mute either participant, which I'll show you in the playback screen, which has huge benefits to your usability of the system. Now, each comes with its pros and cons. Cons are often the size of the recording. So PCM is a much larger recording, so you can store less. Whereas GSM 8,000 Hertz is a highly compressed audio. The quality is still really good, but it allows you to record a significant amount, especially on the 1 terabyte that is already included. We do have a formal document detailing these various compressions and the suggested space that or amount of recorded hours that are able to be stored on a terabyte of storage. Further than that, you can enable screen sharing recording or video recording. These are both included in our licenses. These do consume considerable more storage, but you're able to toggle them on and off through the recording profile. And another benefit of the enterprise version is you can do it by group, so you do not have to have an all or nothing for every user in the company. Other options are a recording announcement. You can toggle whether you'd like a banner to appear in a Teams meeting or an audible notification on a PSTN type call. That is a CAN message that is played by through a Microsoft service, but you can toggle it on and off over here. When using Teams queues recording, when you're targeting a Teams queue, you have the ability to add a custom message at the beginning of that call. So when it hits the queue, it will play that message, or we also have a workaround to have it not play a message as well. Another feature in the recording profile is transcription. So if you're purchasing transcription, you don't necessarily have to transcribe every user. If you have enterprise, you can allocate transcription by group as well. Further controls we have a native Teams app in our enterprise version, which allows you to do record on demand, PCI muting, or GDPR cancel. That app can be controlled through these selective recording filters. So even though a user in the company might have the app on, unless the permission has been granted to use any specific feature in that app, it won't present as available within the app for the user. So it's all centrally controlled through the system by an admin about how that native Teams app can be used. Further filters that apply, which get really interesting, is perhaps or natively the Teams API for compliance recording will record everything for a targeted user. We've seen many scenarios where people don't want internal calls recorded or certain meetings recorded. In this case, you can say, I don't want outbound calls recorded, or inbound calls, or calls, internal calls, external calls, PSTN only. And then there are additional filters that you can use to filter. In addition to area codes, perhaps you do not want to target or record calls if they're coming in or made out to certain area codes, as well as if you don't want to record meetings. There are many options to specify exactly what you want to record or exclude certain criteria for recording through those for recording filters. There are also meeting recording filters, which allow you to target meetings based maybe only on the organizer of the meeting. Or perhaps you want to only record meetings if the subject of the meeting has a specific word in the title of the subject, or even do not record a meeting if there's a specific word. And there can be combination filters. So you can say, if the organizer is a specific person and it says the word private, do not record. But if anyone else says the word private, it will still record. So it gets very granular from those permissions in terms of what meetings you want to record. And all of these are automatic, so there's no user intervention required during a call. The final one is external participants only, which has been very valuable for many customers, which this will only record a meeting if there is an external party in the meeting, and it does it automatically. So whether a PSTN is joined, whether a guest or an external domain joins, it will start recording. And if there is no external domain, guest or PSTN, it will stop recording. So the sum of external parties, one or more, automatically start. And if it goes down to 0, it will stop recording. Now, once we've gone through those profiles, the next element to look at is how it looks like to go and find and play back a call. So I'm going to hit the call listing button now, where we can go and find calls that have been recorded through a call listing page. And I can see generally the current day's worth of calls that have been recorded that I have permission to view. I can see over here a call, there was a meeting, the organizer of the meeting, you can also see the participants in the meeting, and I can also go and search by various criteria. So if I go back here and I want to go back to, let's say, the beginning of December by date or by time, maybe I want to go and look for a specific agent, I might get a name in here, I can choose by a specific agent, and many other criteria, caller name, number, dialed number, inbound, outbound, the type of call that was made, whether it was a queue call, a meeting. If you're recording a Teams queue call, it'll list the queue name in the banner. You will be able to search by the queue. So really rich functionality and a lot of metadata to search by. And we also have a free form search that you can come here and search free form by many other types of criteria, including transcription. If you purchase transcription, you can search based on specific keywords. I'm now going to hit the search button to find a range of calls, which is back from December 1st, and I can see a large range of calls presenting themselves. I can see if it's a meeting, if it's a PSTN call, if it's outbound or if it's inbound, if it's PSTN, the number that was dialed. And if I wanted to access a call, I can simply drop that button down, I can hit the play button, and the call is going to stream. Now in this case, this user has the reason for playback turned on, so I'm going to put a simple reason in. I'm going to hit playback, and it's going to stream that call back to me through the system. Very simple, very easy, and I can only view the calls that I have been permission to view and play back. Further than that, if I wanted to access another call, I can access this call by dropping it down and play it back. You can see we have two different types of waveforms. One is recording in a GSM mono and the other recording in stereo, and I will show that to you in a little more detail. There are some additional features, again, permission driven. If they don't have permission, it will not be visible. Do I want people to be able to download the audio in an unencrypted waveform? Or do I want to download a package if there's any media in it other than audio, screen sharing, video, or a shareable link, which is what most people these days tend to do, so you're not sending an unencrypted WAV file out the system. I'm going to click the shareable link, and I can be presented with options on how I'm going to share that link. Do I want to share the entire call? Or maybe I only want to share a certain part of the call that's relevant. Who do I want to share the link with, internal or public? If it's internal, it's then the person who accesses the link needs an account in the system to be able to access it. If you remember, in the role creation, there was the option to only allow a certain access, whether it's internal or public. In this case, if I go public, it now also gives me how long I'd like them to access the call. We have customers who do endless links and then paste that link to a CRM or any record, so there's quick access to it. But in this case, I'm doing it for 1 hour. I put a reason for sharing, and then I'm going to create the link, which I can then either share via email, which is very useful because then you can track also who it's been sent to, or if I simply want to copy it to clipboard, I can. And if I now go and paste that link in, I can now come back, grab that password. I would have obviously sent it to someone separately, put the password in, check that I'm not a robot, hit the view button, and now I automatically can access that call through a browser in its encrypted format, so there's no unencrypted file in the public domain. I'm now able to click anywhere on there, hit the play button, and you're going to see that it jumps directly to that part of the call where that is restricted for playback. So you can still see the entire integrity of the call. However, it's limited to only playing back what is in that specific highlighted area. Now, earlier on in the recording profile, I mentioned PCM16 and splitting the waveform into RxTX. Here's a perfect example where we have the agent on one waveform and the customer on another. And where this is useful, if there is overtalk or background noise on either party and you cannot hear clearly what is being said, you can mute either party and only listen clearly to what the other side is saying. It is extremely useful, especially people are working at home or in noisy environments and someone is confirming a trade or transaction or anything that you need to hear clearly what they said. You have the ability then to mute the other party that has the noise interference in the background. Now again, this all gets logged as well in the system as played and playback. And if you're using the playback reason, it will present as well in here and log in the reason that the person is playing it back. Coming back to the specific call, we can now also open that call in more details over here, and we can see there's audio, video, and screen sharing included in that call. You can see it presents over here, and if I hit the play button from here, we're going to automatically see those different modalities appear. For example, the cameras of the two users that are on the call, as well as the screen share, and you have the ability to make it in a larger size. So if I make it larger and hit the play button, you're able to view the larger size as well while you're playing it back in line with the audio that you have recorded. If you're using transcription, you will see the transcription below the call. And if you wanted to search in-call transcription, for example, the word recording, you will see the words come up and it will highlight those words so you can easily identify them. And the same applies if you've searched on a global scale for a word, you will see them within that. And you can skip directly to that relevant sentence. So if I want to skip to the sentence, I simply hit that button and it's going to jump directly to that part of the call where the sentence was said. Further to this, we have other tabs, for example, activity log, where you're able to see various activity on the call, who's played it back, who shared it, and various other things. We also have a comprehensive audit trail, which I will show you towards the end, where it logs every possible event in the system, which is very comprehensive and can be exported out the system. This gives you more of an in-call audit as well. And then further, we have a comments tab where you're able to add a comment or a tag that is searchable through the previous window as well. And you can also tag an element of the call. So if I wanted to tag it with the word test, I can pin it to a part of the call. I can save that tag, and we're going to see that tag appearing here, and we can jump to it immediately. I can see it in the call. It's searchable, but because I'm a root administrator and I have the ability to delete or edit it, I can do either. But you can set up users so they can only view them, only add them, not delete them, or not edit them as well. Certain other items that we have present at the top are the ability to create the shareable link through this window. We also have the ability to apply legal hold to this specific call itself. We have the ability to request a delete. Now that's a very interesting feature in IXCloud. What that is when a system is set up, you can specify a compliance officer account. It can be a specific person or a shared account, but it's created at an admin level when the tenant is being created. And then you can give various users the ability to request the deletion of a call without having to come to us. And what that does is if I have permission, I will see this button, I can click it, and I can say that I want to delete this call. Why? I can put a reason, maybe GDPR or whatever it may be. And then when I hit the enable button, it will send that compliance officer account an email saying that I wanted to delete that call. It'll give them access to listen to that call. While it's in that process, it will lock this call so no one can access it. And then the compliance officer can review that record and decide whether in fact it should be deleted or not. If it's not deleted, they will reject the deletion and life will carry on, but it will still log that it was requested and that it was rejected. If it is approved, it will be logged that it's approved, but it'll go into a 24-hour window where anyone can then go and request that it is removed from that deletion. If it is not removed from that deletion process or workflow, after 24 hours, that call will be deleted out the system and there'll be a minor remnant of it. So it complies with any GDPR data subject request. A very, very useful feature simply by clicking that. Something to note, if I do apply legal hold to a call, that will not be an available feature then within the call because this call has to be retained for legal purposes. And the same applies on an admin basis for the user's calls on legal hold. And remember, this legal hold can be restricted by permission. So not every user could have the permission to apply legal hold to a call. If I now want to go to that call deletion log, I can view, if I go and search through history, those calls that have been requested to be deleted and what the actions that have happened. So for example, what call it was, the date and time, who requested it, why it was requested, and then this was rejected. Someone didn't want to so it was rejected for a certain reason. This one over here was requested by a certain user and it was approved by another user and it's deleted. So the only remnant of that call is the fact that there was an extension and a date or time that made that call from the company's point of view. So it's audited and it can be exported out the system as well. A further admin feature is the audit trail. If I click on the audit trail, it provides a very comprehensive review of every single event within the application, and you can see more granular information on that event if you click on that event, as far as even the comments added or deleted, legal hold being placed or removed. So everything is logged within the system. You can check which module you want to search by, what the action was you're searching by any particular user that performed, as well as the date that you'd like to see for the review. And then you have the option to export that audit log out the system for any compliance audit or review that you might need it for. It's extremely comprehensive. Further admin features are those shared calls that I showed you. You have the ability to manage those shared links in the system. So you can see who has been sharing those links. You can see the calls that have been shared, as well as if a link is still active and has not expired, you have the ability to expire that link so no one has access to it anymore, or bring it up as long as it hasn't expired. If it's up, you can still access from this window that link, the relevant information on that link, and reshare it through here as well, in case you have misplaced the details to that link. And again, this is all tracked here, so you can monitor who has been sharing calls within the system. A further element is storage. In Enterprise, if you want to use your own storage, we have ways of connecting to that storage depending on your security requirements, either through SaaS, Server SaaS, or User Delegation SaaS. You would create your blob storage account according to our instructions. You would then enter the credentials depending on which mechanism you've chosen. You will test and save, and then calls will automatically be recorded and encrypted and stored in your Azure blob storage account. Another tab is the authentication tab. As I mentioned right up front, we have 3 ways that a user can log in using an email and one-time PIN, either using SSO or a built-in MFA. You can force either of these mechanisms so that the user is only presented with a certain one on their login as well. Okay, the final element that I'm going to move to is licenses. IXCloud works on a pool of licenses. So you have that license that you can see your availability, how many licenses available out of the total that you've purchased. And you're able to go in there and assign it to users or to groups, and as you assign or unassign it, it will make available those licenses from within your pool of licensing. Group licensing is very much a preferred mechanism of doing it, because what it does is as you add a user to a group or remove them, it'll automatically assign a license to that user, and we do not duplicate licenses if they're in multiple groups. It will automatically recognize that a user is in a group and only assign one license to that specific user. So this gives you extreme flexibility with your usability of the system, with not having to over purchase your licensing. Okay, and finally, a new feature that we've added is the message center, which is where you will see any updates, alerts on various tasks that you've enabled through the system. If we're sending you a notification about storage, about licensing, about a new release coming out, a new license, that will all appear within your message center for you to be updated on any events happening within IXCloud. As you have witnessed, IXCloud is a comprehensive, easy to use compliance recording solution that checks many boxes from a security point of view to even a convenience recording point of view. We have integrations which can be added to the product through endpoints with Microsoft Teams, Cisco WebEx, Zoom, Net2Phone, Avaya, premise-based integrations, Cisco premise-based integrations, SIP-REC, SIP integrations in a hybrid format. So it's extremely comprehensive. You can mix and match solutions. It really is your single pane of glass to all your compliance communications.